Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I'm Adam. I'm the scientific services lead at Seqera. And in this role, I work closely with our customers as a bioinformatics engineer, and we try and help them get the most out of our software and their workflows. And one of the things we often see is that pipelines evolve. They grow in scope and complexity and bring a number of challenges along the way. So in this talk, I'm going to walk through some of those common pain points and show how Seqera is building tools to help reduce friction at every stage, okay, and keep you focused on the science. Ooh, it's messed up the formatting slightly. Okay, so I'm going to talk a lot about Nextflow today. So I'll start with a brief introduction. Nextflow is a programming language designed specifically for building bioinformatics pipelines. It was created at the CRG in Barcelona in 2013, and it's gained widespread adoption because of its simplicity and its flexibility and its ability to adapt to a range of computing environments. Okay, and over the past decade, we've really seen Nextflow take over as the standard workflow orchestration language in bioinformatics. So there's some core concepts in Nextflow I want to review just for a second. In Nextflow, every step in your pipeline is defined as a process, and then data, you connect up processes with channels, okay? And the data flows along those channels between each process. So you can think of it like the metro map, kind of the subway map that people tend to show their bioinformatics pipelines as, where the train stations are each process and the tracks are each channel, and the data flowing between them is the trains. And one of the key strengths of Nextflow is that it abstracts away a lot of the execution logic that you have to write into your pipeline. So, for example, it'll control process A needs to occur before process B. If there's a chance to make something parallel, it'll split it and run it all at once, and it'll bring results back together when they're needed. Okay, so it kind of relieves you of the developer of that burden of writing that code. It's then got this really flexible configuration system on top of it, which allows you to write the pipeline once and run it across a range of environments, okay, just by changing some config options. This kind of intuitive structure is why it's so popular among bioinformaticians. Okay, so who is Seqera? The company I work for. Seqera is the company founded by the team behind Nextflow. Okay, so our founders are Evan and Paolo, the original authors of Nextflow, and we continue to develop it as an open source project, and we're proud to be its stewards and maintain it for the community. Nextflow has been transformative for individual bioinformaticians. But Seqera was created to meet the needs of organizations, okay? To meet, centralization, standardization, management, that sort of thing. The idea is with Seqera, Nextflow evolves from a powerful workflow engine into a full platform for collaborative science. Okay, I've introduced Nextflow and Seqera. And I think, let's talk about the challenges a bioinformatician would face. So one of the things we often see is this transition from small Nextflow to big Nextflow, we've called it. Small Nextflow is a simple script, a small pipeline, limited number of steps. And then you transition across, you add more features and you build it up and, increase the scope of what you're trying to do. And suddenly you've got a big production pipeline, you start to think about tests and management and all this extra stuff. As you go along that scale, you pick up challenges along the way, okay? Sorry. So it starts with a single step pipeline, but it quickly grows into a more complicated, piece of software with lots of different dependencies and lots of different requirements. You start to need to think about packaging, versioning, deployment. The scale of your data, the samples you're processing, the number of samples increases. So you have to start thinking about bigger compute environments and more resources. The tracking of when, where, and how you ran a pipeline starts to become a full-time job, starts to become, a real challenge, especially when that pipeline is now used in multiple different contexts. And finally, running a pipeline isn't enough. It's not sufficient. You need to actually interpret the results and make meaningful conclusions from the data. Okay, and there are roadblocks at every level, and these are compounding problems that slow down the pace of your science. Okay, so let's start with software to begin, and talk about each one of these in turn. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. So the tools we built are designed to help you solve these at every step. Okay, let's start with software. Okay, so Nextflow, any good programming language, if you want to build a complex piece of software, you need really good developer tooling. Okay, we've just rolled out the VS Code extension. And it's making developing and debugging a Nextflow pipeline so much easier. Okay, you now get a full IDE experience. Right there in VS Code, which means things like syntax highlighting, autocomplete, error checking, and this is cool, like graphical interface of your workflow that you can just click around and navigate your code base via the DAG view. The idea is all of these features just make it easier to develop your pipeline. So as the complexity increases, you can still keep on top of everything you're doing and stay in touch. And if you're still stuck, it's 2025, which means you can just ask the machine. So we've developed Seqera AI, which is a language model optimized specifically for Nextflow and bioinformatics. Okay, it's designed to help with everything from identifying errors, fixing bugs, adding new code. You can start to add code and just ask it to add more processes. It will convert pipelines. So if you've got a pipeline in a legacy workflow language, you can convert it to Nextflow using Seqera AI. And you can also just ask it to generate you a whole pipeline from scratch. And we've been able to generate fairly complex pipelines using this. Quite importantly, it won't reinvent the wheel. So if you ask it to do an RNA-seq pipeline, it will say no and just say, go and use one of the many public open source community projects out there. It's built, it's available from our website as a chat interface, but it's also built right into the VS Code extension through GitHub Copilot. So you can continue developing in the same area, in the same environment, sorry. Containerization is the right way to do reproducible software, okay? It's arguably the only way to produce a reproducible result from a bioinformatics pipeline. But creating Docker or Singularity containers is not the best use of a bioinformatician's time. They should be focusing on science. So they shouldn't be wrangling containers. So this is why we created the Wave service. Wave is a container provisioning service. Automatically builds and deploys containers based on the needs of your Nextflow software. Okay, so if a task requires SAM tools, it'll just go and get a SAM tool, build a container that includes SAM tools for you. If you want to use it outside of Nextflow, we've built it into a public service, a public website called Seqera Containers. So if you visit the website here, and that's what you're seeing on the right here, you just go through, you select the software that you want via Conda or pip, and it will just build a container with those software requirements already installed and push it to a public registry. And it'll also include things like a security scan by default, so you can see the level of vulnerabilities inside your software. Okay, these tools, they're trying to help you build bigger and more complicated pipelines with confidence, okay? So, but we're still developing, on our laptops. We're still keeping it on small machines. What if we need more storage? What if we need more horsepower? What if we need, GPUs and ARM, various other hardware? So we need to increase our compute capacity. This is where Seqera Platform comes in. So Seqera Platform is our primary interface for managing and running Nextflow at scale. Okay. One of the cornerstone features of Seqera Platform is the ability to create and manage compute environments. Okay, you can easily spin up environments on cloud or on premise. We support the big major clouds plus clusters plus Kubernetes. And you can spin up and manage these resources without having to dig through complicated options, okay? You can just do it through interface like this. And then when you want, you can launch a pipeline straight onto these compute environments without having to set complicated configuration or adding credentials or any of that sort of extra stuff onto your pipeline. It is purpose-built for bioinformatics workloads. So it includes features like automatic scaling up and down to 0, resource caps to prevent too much spend. It supports GPUs and things like ARM for reduced cost, for supporting a diverse amount of hardware that bioinformatics requires. If that is still too much work, we've recently introduced Seqera Compute, which is a fully managed compute service maintained and hosted by us. Okay. With this option, all you need to do is pick the geographic region and give it a name, and then we'll handle everything else. Okay. So it's hosted in our AWS, and we organize it. The idea of this is these compute options bring together sort of everything we've learned about running Nextflow pipelines at scale and bring it into like a single easy-to-use solution. Oh, next slide, please. There we go. Both of these options are powered by Fusion. Fusion is our high-performance virtual file system. And what Fusion does is it streams data directly from cloud storage during pipeline execution, okay? And it eliminates the need for downloading and uploading files. This delivers 2 key benefits. The first one is that your pipeline goes faster because you're eliminating the need for data transfer. It's an overhead you just dropped. Secondly, it actually removes the need, it provides freedom from managing infrastructure. Okay, you no longer have to worry about storage drives running out of space because you have effectively infinite storage on your local machine. This is all the idea is just to provide your team the ability to focus on analysis rather than infrastructure. Okay, so now with Seqera Platform, you should be scaling you're using a distributed compute environment, so you should be able to scale bigger than ever. And now your pipeline is in active use, which means you need to start keeping an accurate, complete log of how and when you are executing your pipeline. Okay. Keeping track of how you ran your pipeline can be like a real challenge. You can write it down, of course, you can keep notes, but there's no guarantee you're going to do it correctly. There's no guarantee it'll be accurate or complete, okay? And you might capture the parameters and settings, but what about, the configuration of Nextflow, detailed internals, the settings of individual tasks. When you launch a pipeline on Seqera Platform, every pipeline is monitored end to end, okay? So it means no more digging through emails and Slack messages and to find the right config outputs. Everything lives together in one place, which means you can get access to all the detailed metrics like logs, resource usage, things like that, all the way down to the individual task level. If there is an error, which this should be showing an error, yeah. If there's an error, it will be reported in plain text right inside the platform, okay? The failed tasks are clearly highlighted on the run page. Your attention goes straight to where it's needed. And then you can dive deeper without switching tools, okay? So you can stay in this view. You can download logs directly from the platform. You can explore the task directories using the built-in data browser, which means debugging becomes faster, more focused, and less painful. All of these are grouped into like an organizational unit called a workspace, okay? And the workspace has all the resources within it, and a single sort of unified space. You can grant users specific roles based on what they need to do. So whether it's launch, maintain, control, that sort of thing. You can invite external collaborators. You can or invite members of your own team. And the whole point is that you're all working from the same source of truth. This is how Seqera Platform is providing this unified view of your pipelines. But analysis doesn't stop with pipelines. Results need to be interpreted, okay? And you need to be presented clearly to make a conclusion. So Bioinformatics results are often pretty messy and nuanced. It makes them very difficult to communicate, especially to non-bioinformaticians. Okay, so figures are probably the best way of conveying a message, but writing code to pass some tools special output, turn it into a standardized structure, render it in ggplot or Seaborn or something. That's a whole load of work that everyone's reinventing every time. So we also maintain MultiQC, which is another open source tool. It was built to solve this exact problem. It aggregates and standardizes all of your pipeline outputs and presents them in an easy to read report, okay, automatically. You don't need to write a custom parser to get a clear representative view of your data. It supports about 165 bioinformatics tools. That's when I checked the other day, so it's probably 166 now. If a tool isn't supported out of the box, it's got a fairly simple to use module system in Python. If you still need more flexibility, it can be imported as a Python library and just used directly to generate whatever report you want. So MultiQC is, making it easier than ever for your team to interpret outcomes and make, informed decisions. And finally, a pipeline is a data transformation engine. Okay, it takes raw data and it turns it into a different form of data. Without the interpretation, it's incomplete. So we need to provide, an analysis solution. And too often, analysis happens downstream. Someone gets the results from your bioinformatics pipelines, they download it to their computer, and they interpret it in, their interactive software. This breaks reproducibility and provenance, right? You've suddenly taken it out of your existing system. So we developed Studios, which is our interactive analysis environment. Studios offers 3 core advantages, okay? So firstly, it runs inside your compute, okay? Studios launches into your configured compute infrastructure, the one you use for pipelines, the same compute environment. So it reuses all of that config and permissions and roles that you set up for running your pipelines. That also means you're bringing the analysis into the same space as the data. It is also backed by Fusion, which means instant access to the data. We can stream it directly, and no need for large disk or copying files around. And finally, it's really flexible in the tools that it supports, okay? So it includes out-of-the-box support for R, Jupyter, VS Code, and also like a virtual desktop called Expra. And it can be customized further with Conda. So if you want to add extra dependencies through the interface, you can just say, hey, I want SAM tools, and it will just add it as a piece of software already installed. Finally, you can bring completely custom containers, okay? So it's relatively lightweight. You can build your own container. You can deploy it as a studio and then support any software like this example here, which is Cell by Gene. Okay, so that's not a typically supported interactive environment. Studios is like the ideal space for computational biology, shared space for computational biology teams. Ooh. All right. So now, we've turned the raw pipeline results into informed actual decisions, okay? This is kind of the core mission of Seqera, okay? To unblock bioinformaticians at every step. By removing these technical friction, these things that slow you down, okay? So you shouldn't be spending your time managing infrastructure or juggling software environments or tracking down results, okay? Your science should not be slowed down by the work around the work. Okay, here's a list of products I mentioned in the talk. Yeah, Nextflow is free and open source. MultiQC is also free and open source. Seqera AI and containers and platform all available from our website. If you want to talk any more about you can speak to us now, but also we're at booth 25 with myself, Harshal, John, Geraldine, and Ken. We have a summit in October. It's a virtual summit. On 23rd and 24th of October, and then we have an in-person hackathon at head office in Barcelona on the 28th and 29th of October. So please do submit abstracts. The abstracts are open now, so we'd love to see you there. Thanks very much, everyone.